What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Smart Money Sundays. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. Euro USD, and really a lot of pretty much everything that we have covered of late is coming to fruition, and bold predictions that are playing out quite nicely. So congrats if you've been following our analysis over the last few weeks. We're seeing a lot of significant moves taking place that we predicted. So congrats on that. But here we go, Euro USD. Now this one, again, if we hop out to the higher time frame, just repeating the fact that we are overall still significantly bullish, right? And the dollar is certainly still weak. Now, I did talk about kind of our previous high within market structure as our initial focal point in terms of a re-entry. We obviously blew right through that, and so our eyes kind of drifted down towards our next point of interest, our next area of interest, which I still believe to be very much so on the cards. And that comes in and around 1.0930. 1.0930 is this inefficiency here. Filling that in, it does look like we have potentially some equal lows formulating right prior to it as well, with this low here. And so really what I'd like to see on EU is just one more potential sweep to the downside. All right, maybe get one more sweep, come down into our overall level, right, and then see that reversal. That would be really, really nice. And then we can look to target our previous high in and around 1.1280, and then ultimately 1.13500 is what I'll be targeting kind of medium term. Right, just simply cloning this previous expansionary move, cloning that at our level, and we can even fib it as well. All right, and you can see that we are digging down into that kind of 78.6 area, which is a nice alignment with our point of interest. So nice deep discount here. Just be patient; it's not ready yet, in my opinion. All right, just want to see another run on the low, run on previous week's low, then the accumulation and the follow through, the expansion there. Now, GBP USD, slightly different story, but still following suit. You'll recall last week I talked about the fact that this was just really, really clean, right? Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then the kind of breakout. And I warned, I can't remember, I guess it was during the week, I warned our private community, like, look, this is just too clean. We don't just channel down like this and then just moon. Right, there's always going to be some form of additional manipulation in this low as a draw on liquidity, and sure enough, that's what happened towards the end of last week. Right, so this was the draw on liquidity, and then we now have traded deeper down into our POI, this area of discount. Right, and so now in terms of the here and now, EU could run out previous week's low. GU absolutely could. I would kind of be surprised since we have already kind of traded into our overall price point, and so it'll be interesting to see kind of how these two pairs react at these levels. But GU could very easily create that higher low, which would be great, and then a subsequent higher high, and then we'd have that sequence. Right, and then we can take a third drive cycle. So that would be preferable there on GU, as opposed to just simply re-entering upon this area of demand and hoping that it creates that initial higher low and then expands. Right, but we absolutely could see some additional dollar strength and some more downside on GU. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, because remember, ultimately we do still have a higher time frame POI here within this 4-hour inefficiency. So if we do have that, again, that significant push lower, be running out some of this internal sell side liquidity, then 1.2650 would be my next focal point to look to continue to buy this one back up into the highs, right? Ultimately up into 1.3250. Okay. So that's the narrative there on GU. Now Aussie dollar, right? Beautiful trade from last week. So congrats if you caught that one, caught the shorts. You'll recall on this one we have relative equal highs, we have relative equal lows. Ultimately, if you zoom out on the higher time frame, right, we have that manipulation, the buy to sell to buy, the break of structure. We pulled back up down into discount, right? But this higher low, quote unquote, failed to produce a higher high. So again, like I talked about last week, just go back to last week's episode, this is still our trading range. Okay, and so that's why I told you I wouldn't be surprised if we ran out these lows, then accumulated beneath these lows, and then got that expansion. And that's exactly what is happening in my opinion. Okay, so hold the shorts, in my opinion, down into these equal lows, or we're almost there, but then look for that accumulation. We do have a higher time frame area of demand within here, starting in and around 6,550 is where I would really like to get an entry around. However, I will be beginning to look for opportunities once price is trading beneath these lows here. Okay, on the lower time frame there. All right, so that's AU. NZD USD is pretty much the same story as last week. We didn't do too much last week, but just simply following the price action, following the market structure, higher high, higher low, higher high. Right, naturally expecting another higher low and then another higher high back up into premium price into our area of demand in and around 6,450. All right, so that's very much so on the cards, somewhat forming kind of a head and shoulders type pattern. I'd like to see a final run on the lows on NU and then that accumulation down here in our area of demand around 6,100 and then that expansion there. All right, so that's pretty self-explanatory and still intact from last week. Not much else to say. Same deal here with USD CAD. We have our higher time frame area of interest, or our higher time frame objective, I should say, on that daily time frame, starting in and around 1.3050 down into 1.3. Okay, now we're trading back up into our daily 50 EMA as dynamic resistance, and we do still have a nice premium area of supply, right? That 1 hour kind of flip zone. Well, you can see it a little bit better on the 1 hour, but even more so on the lower time frames, this kind of demand to supply flip and a nice pocket of premium that I think price needs to trade into, where we can look for our final shorting opportunity, a significant swing to the downside to kind of close out this massive bear run. All right, so just keep that area 1.33 into 1.3320, keep that marked off. USD Swissy appears to be kind of formulating some sort of retracement at the moment, ideally at least into our previous low here at 8820, and so there certainly could be a quick little kind of intraday, intra-week kind of scalping or counter trend opportunity here on Swissy, and so especially given the fact that we had a low here and this was manipulated, run out just barely, but that is a liquidity run. I don't care if it's by 1 pip or 1/10 of a pip. If it takes out the low, that's a liquidity run. And so, somewhat risky simply because the dollar is certainly weak, and I'm looking for dollar weakness to continue, but not to say we can't see some sort of quick leg, kind of A into B into C retracement formulating, and then a follow through, a continuation with dollar weakness. All right, so that's in and around 0.86124, where I will be watching out there on USD Swiss franc. UJ, this is the level that was given out a couple weeks now. Obviously, with the Japanese yen monetary policy last week, saw a lot of volatility, a lot of spiking, but certainly news is just the excuse to give us that mitigation and that catalyst for expansion. And so that is why we traded directly into my POI, this very specific level that I gave out to you all. And we've seen a beautiful, beautiful reaction from there, right? 250 pips thus far. And so I am looking for follow-throughs, at least into our kind of area of supply here. Just go ahead and mark that off. At least into that area, but certainly we are in an overall uptrend still. Previous high within market structure, higher high, retested that, started to formulate bullish structure, and so lower time frames and higher time frames are in alignment. There's no reason to think we can't go ahead and run out this previous higher time frame high at 145.20. All right, and so for the here and now, if you missed the opportunity here, you certainly should be break even if you're in it. But in terms of continuation and re-entries, this is the focal point there, that inefficiency, just getting that kind of intraday discount, the continuation in and around 139.75. All right, and that's kind of the theme across the board on these yen pairs. Same thing with CAD. We, obviously we gave out the level The 1 hour level here last week caught a very sharp reaction, but we ultimately ran out this low by just a little bit, so that was very unfortunate. Nothing you can do about that. But ultimately, we are still very much so bullish on the higher time frames across the board on the Japanese yen pairs. This is not a high in the market. This will be a draw on liquidity. And so I'll be looking for continued excuses to buy CAD JPY at a very similar price point here on CAD that we have on UJ. That inefficiency there on the 30-minute, which you can just simply look at as a supply to demand flip. If we can get that, I don't see any reason why we should necessarily trade any lower than here unless we're just going to continue to go short. But all the confluences are pointing in the bullish direction. So I'll be looking for expansion from that particular price point. Swiss franc, Japanese yen as well. Same sort of deal. All right, same sort of deal. Intraday retracements, continuations there on the yen. After the spike, the liquidation, the accumulation, filling in these wicks here in momentum, that's a great sign so that we love to see. Euro GBP, my bias is still bullish on this one simply because we have traded into our higher time frame kind of area of demand here. Higher time frame area of demand. All right, after having run out relative equal lows, so the manipulation, sell to buy, break of structure, and it does appear that we are kind of accumulating at the moment, and we're wedging ourselves right between lower highs and higher lows. So I really would like to see a run sell to buy scenario, right, and then the follow through. That would be great confirmation. So it's just not quite ready yet. Just let it be, let it come to you. AUD CAD, this one, it's been a bit tricky, a bit difficult, but ultimately, since we have broken through our down close here, my eyes then fixate upon our previous low, that likely to get run out, and so I'm looking for now excuses to sell down into that as the bears are still in control, right? And so my natural intraday level is going to be this area here, right? If we can get up into that, and then the simple follow through down into our previous low, that would make sense to me. Okay, and then we can look for accumulation beneath that low. Euro CAD is looking quite nice. This one, momentum, we're kind of stair-stepping to the downside at the moment after having traded into this massive up close here, right? Mitigation, you can see just a simple kind of fib pattern potentially playing out, right? With nice, clean, equal lows here as a draw on liquidity, right? So we can even fib it, right? Potential higher time frame targets bringing us in and around 1.4050 after having traded into that 61.71 golden pocket. And like I said, we are stair-stepping our way down, right, and capped by that 50 EMA. And so on this one, we have reacted off of the open of this higher time frame up close, right? But I'm trying to follow the mitigation train here. And so what I'd like to see is some sort of buildup of liquidity, some sort of sell to buy, trade into our true premium supply to sell. Right, break that and continue with our stair stepping on down. All right, that would be ideal, and that brings us in and around 1.4650. All right, so that looks pretty clean in my opinion. Let's see, CAD Swissy is another one. Now remember, on the higher time frames, we haven't taken out our previous low here. We've created relative equal lows, so we're engineering, we're building up the liquidity on the sell side here. But on the lower time frames, we've stopped, we've created a higher low, which now leads me to believe we're going to draw out the liquidity resting above our previous high, right? Potentially trade into this area of supply. So run the buy side, then run the sell side, and then potentially accumulate and go long. So we very easily could have a quick little counter trend opportunity on this one, right? To take out this high, trade into our supply zone, and then look for that overall final expansion down into our sell side. All right, so that looks half decent. Euro NZD, relative equal highs. Get rid of this, relative equal highs here. So I'm still looking to buy into that liquidity alongside our market structure, creating higher highs, higher lows. kind of consolidated here. Potential manipulation, run the highs first, then have that run on the lows, trade into our deeper discount, nice golden pocket. Previous gap in price should provide that sensitivity and that catalyst to push us into those equal highs. So 7,650 is that area, into 7,620 to keep on the radar. Don't chase it. I'm only going to be looking at this if we get down into this area of discount for continuations. All right, guys, and the final one for tonight is going to be NZD Swiss franc. On the higher time frames, this is one that we certainly want to kind of watch out for in terms of a potential swing opportunity. You can see that we are drawing out the liquidity, resting beneath this massive singular wick low, and what price is doing right prior to that. Okay, you can see that we're starting to slow down in momentum. Right, we're chopping around, we're consolidating, which leads me to believe we're going to see some sort of manipulation into that wick. So maybe a buy to sell liquidation, higher time frame liquidity, and then that rally, right? So just keep that in mind. We'd like to see that slowdown in momentum prior to liquidity pools, right? So then we can see that manipulation taking place, right? Potentially be buyers below an old low, or if we get that accumulation, that expansion, wait for the confirmation, the continuation. All right, that's just one to watch out for, a potential reversal on heading into this week. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video and have a pretty good perspective and narrative heading into this week. If you like the way that we do analysis and you kind of learn how to do it on a step-by-step basis and A to Z, feel free to shoot us a message on Telegram at Ariel FX Trading. We'd be happy to get you involved in our private mentorship. Or if you're also interested in our prop firm automation side of things, we do past challenges for our community, as well as we have a few account management spots open for funded accounts as well. So shoot us a message on Telegram if you want to get involved in any of that. Other than that, guys, hope you have a great week, safe trading, and we'll talk to you again next Sunday. Thanks.